All right. A wonderful panel with me here today. This is exciting. So many wonderful faces, wonderful experience packed into these 5 people, and I'm so happy to be moderating this panel today, guys, with you all. Right? I hope you all are equally excited, and the audiences as well. Over the next 40 minutes, which I'm not able to see from here, but I guess it's there. So over the next 39 minutes, we hope to deliver some really good value to all of you here. And I have some questions prepared with, excuse me, with their help. And we'll go through those questions. This will help us delve deeper into their experiences of working in their own jurisdictions, geographies, and different categories of customers. And I hope you're able to add value to this discussion. Before we start off with our panel here, I would request everyone to kindly share, your own experience, maybe introduce yourself. Before that, I'd just like to speak about a couple of lines for all of you, right? And then maybe please take over because I think it's best if you introduce yourselves, right? But I'll just start. I'll have to search. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we start here with Nicole, right? Nicole Gain, right? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Guin. Okay. Thank you. So you're co-founder at APAC DAO. Right? And so Nicole has been a passionate community builder and Web3 advocate at APAC DAO, the Web3 community with over 800 project members. Is that right? Wow. And from across Asia, founder of Vietnam FinTech Festival. So maybe that's coming up sometime soon as well after Thailand Festival. Is that? Yeah, okay. And ASEAN Vice Chair of Global Impact FinTech Forum. Wonderful. Nicole, would you like to go ahead and just maybe add a few lines to that of what you do and how you do it?
So, sawadee and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you have all, been back from a great lunch and also looking forward to this panel with my distinguished panelists here. So my name is Nicole. I'm from Vietnam. I used to live in Bangkok for over a year back in 2019. So almost feel like coming back home this time. So I'm the co-founder of APAC DAO, which is a Web3 community with over 800 project members in Web3. So we do events, also business matching for Web3 projects across Southeast Asia. I'm also the ASEAN Vice Chair of a think tank based in Singapore called Global Impact FinTech Forum, and also the founder of Vietnam FinTech Festival. So we're going to do this in Q3 next year. So you are all more than welcome to go to Vietnam and join me with the event. So again, thank you so much for coming today and very much looking forward to this panel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll surely be there, all of us, as much as possible. Moving on to Jeremy. So Jeremy Wong, he's co-founder and CBO at the Everest Ventures Group. So Jeremy has been a leading Web3 venture. It's a building group driving mass adoption in Hong Kong. Jeremy has advised and invested into 50+ projects, including Dapper Labs, Animoca Brands, that's a popular name, Sandbox and Immutable, wearing both hats of an investor and an entrepreneur. Perfect to be here, perfect for someone to be here on this panel today. We'll definitely pick into that. He has also built and incubated multiple technology infrastructures to reshape internet culture for financial inclusion, such as Aspen Digital, Mugen Interactive, Cassava Network, etc. But Jeremy, I think that's not sufficient for you. So please go ahead and introduce yourself, add some lines to that.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. This is Jerome from Everest Ventures Group. So we are a Web3 venture building studio based out of Hong Kong. Maybe a lot of you guys might have kind of heard about like Hong Kong right now. The government has been pushing Web3 pretty aggressively. So I'm more than happy to share more on like my thoughts later on during our panel. But for us, like basically EVG, what we do essentially is that our business model is that we found companies ourselves. So we have in-house tech, product, operational, commercial team founding different business segments. So for example, we have a asset management platform in Hong Kong. It's fully licensed called Aspen Digital. So serving the ultra net worth and also family offices clients. So we are backed by the likes of Rothschild and other family offices across Asia. And we also founded a gaming studio called Mugen Interactive. So we're building different games, and that is quite relevant to Southeast Asia because right now, quite a few of our games we are trying to enter Southeast Asian market. We also like build other different things, but I'm more than happy to share later on in the panel. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next up, Edward. Edward is a senior financial market analyst at FBS with a passion for research and global trends and 6 years of experience in analytics and financial training. He also created an educational course for crypto analysis and trading from the very basics to the top of on-chain analysis. But please add to that, Eduardo, because I think, yeah, please do add.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Edward, and I'm an analyst at FBS, a global CFD broker. So we are one of the most popular brokers in the world with more than 23 million clients. And we are striving to provide the best trading experience for everyone. But speaking personally of me, I came to the crypto world just as a majority of the people, I suppose, at the highest point of the 2017 bull market. And at the beginning, it was kind of painful, but then I dived deeper and unravel way more about cryptocurrency and its potential implications. And right now, I see cryptocurrency not as an investment asset, at least not totally an investment asset, and not as a speculative instrument, but as a political power that can shape international relationship in many ways. That's why I'm here to speak about it with you guys, and I'm really honored to be among you. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Wonderful. I think that's the team, right? So wonderful. Thank you so much. And next is Terry. So Terry is the regional head of BD and partnerships at DeFi, right? DI for DeFi. Wonderful, wonderful name. So Terry heads up the regional partnerships and BD at DeFi and Emerge, and currently assisting Immutable Games Studio and many others, and working with multiple stakeholders in the GameFi scene. His main focus is in SEA and APAC to build knowledge and partnerships in these regions. Please add to that, Terry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so as you can know a little bit about me is we are a marketing agency based out of Singapore. Initially, when the MAS was very inviting to some of the Web3 and FinTech companies back then for the blockchain scene itself, they were very inviting to the exchanges and with not so much regulations, but nowadays there's a little bit more regulation from MAS itself. And I think being regionally around in this space with our clients, our partners, all being various stakeholders, not just in the GameFi scene, but even in like the DeFi, the CeFi itself. There are lots of regulations and implications, restrictions, limitations, operating as a business in the Southeast Asian market, even with the marketing aspects to running these like campaigns. Like Singapore, you can't really do outright marketing itself, but it's a little bit more lenient in other countries. So I think on this panel, definitely would like to love to hear more about how different countries will react to different regulations as well, and how we can rally together and grow as a Southeast Asian nation.
Yes, we are definitely going to pick on that over the next 30 minutes. Thank you so much, Terry. Next is Rabia. She is a partner at a top 100 international law firm. So Rabia Anwar is a lawyer both in the UK and the USA. She is a partner at a top 100 law firm with clients all around the world, including fintechs, digital assets funds, and exchanges, family offices, tier 1 global investment banks such as Goldman Sachs, regulatory bodies, and some of the largest corporations in the world. Rabia is widely recognized as a leading expert in digital assets, including crypto and NFTs, blockchain, fintechs, and financial services regulation. This is something definitely we need as an experience today on the panel, and wonderful to speak with you. Please go ahead and add to that, Rabia.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you to everyone who is attending and is going to join our discussion. I'm a lawyer from London, as Abhishek explained. I've specialized in financial services, both traditional financial services with clients like global investment banks such as Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and also fintechs, digital asset funds all over the world. Before becoming a lawyer, I worked on the trading floor of an investment bank, so I'm definitely not the average lawyer, and that's where the passion for financial services, trading products, and digital assets really comes from. So looking forward to the discussion today.
Thank you, Rabia. So, by the way, what I was thinking is that on screen we have the name of the panel today, but if not, so people who have followed the agenda, wonderful. let me tell you what the agenda is today, right? What the topic is. It's analyzing the geopolitical implications of cryptocurrency and exploring its potential role in shaping international relations. That's why this kind of a panel where you found experiences from across the globe, multiple areas, geographies, and all of them have worked in fintech, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, NFTs, etc. So I hope that now it makes sense that why I also believe that we will be able to, all through the questions, deliver a lot of value today over the next half an hour. So now there goes my questions, right? We start with some questions. So Rabia, from there, I would like to start. So I have a question for you. I have a very interesting question for you, which I need to find. 1 second. Yes. So this is from your experience, right? This is what you've been working with, and especially since you've become a lawyer, you mentioned that what the experience has changed drastically. So would the harmonization of regulatory frameworks governing these cryptocurrencies across countries, that is creating globally aligned regulatory standards, which is, by the way, a very difficult task to do, right? We all know, we've been in this industry. And would this have a positive effect on overall international relations? What do you think?
So I think that it would definitely have a positive effect on international relations, because it would reduce the risk of regulatory arbitrage and make cohesion and cooperation between international regulators a lot easier. On ground level as well, the benefit would be that there would be clarity and certainty, which is definitely needed in this market. But as Abhishek alluded, can this actually be achieved? It's a really difficult task. There are a number of reasons why it's a difficult task, and actually if we address those difficulties, we can probably do it and reap the rewards. So one of the reasons it would be difficult to harmonize regulatory regimes across countries, and those governing cryptocurrency in particular, is because this is a new and evolving product class. It's a fast evolving product class, and regulation by its nature inherently is not static, which is a good thing. So you might manage to align regulations across a number of countries in the short term, but can you maintain that harmonization for very long without various countries diverging? Then another challenge I would mention would be that terminology. So every country, when you dive deeper into how crypto really operates, every country has its own taxonomy and terminology, which would make harmonization a particular challenge. The final factor I'd mention on this is the political landscape. So every country you look at right now has its own appetite for how they are handling cryptocurrency, decentralization, and the autonomy that decentralization brings in general. So how do you bring all those different approaches and values together to harmonize regulation? It's quite a difficult task. The right way I would suggest to do it is to not try to extend regulation from one nation to another. I think we need fresh regulation that has been tailor-made specifically for digital assets rather than taken from the securities market. And ideally, I think we need a new regulatory body which is borderless, so that it can mirror the borderless nature of the product that it is trying to regulate. And from a legal perspective, the correct vehicle, I would say, is probably an SRO or a self-regulatory organization. That's probably the right way to go about trying to bring harmonization between different countries in terms of regulatory approach towards cryptocurrency. And if we can achieve that, then of course it will have a positive impact on international relations.
Thank you, Rabia. So on that, you mentioned also that, even if you're able to do that, would we be able to continue with that, right? So, and whether the countries would be able to do so. Just to add to that, I think that doing it first time is, I think, the biggest challenge, right? It's about bringing everyone on the same page. There are so many diplomatic relations to be handled here, right? And everyone doesn't see eye to eye in terms of cryptocurrency. Someone wants to make it a legal tender and someone wants to ban it, right? And these could be two different parts of the world. Right? I would like to pick your brain on this, Terry, that, what she mentioned on her question, right? That whether this is going to shape up international relations in the broader context. Do you have anything to add there that, what you believe?
Yeah, I think if you look at cross-world, cross-national kind of like level, where it's not really bordered around by lines, right, and geographical locations. If you're talking about, let's say, like really neighboring countries, really sitting on borders of each other, I think there might be some implications to it. It might be good, might be bad. I'll talk about the not so nice stuff first, right? So, for example, like when Singapore was very receptive of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and everything, it was still a very new kind of technology around in Southeast Asia, and I would say that this rubbed off on some of the other neighboring countries to start to be a bit more well receiving and receptive to Web3. But slowly after that, when the whole geographical location starts to experience a little bit more of like, your scams, your rug pulls, and some of the not so nice things to the community itself, I think that was where the government and the regulatories in Singapore actually pulled the handbrake. But right now, as you can see from the start from maybe 6 years ago till now, right, many of the neighboring countries around the ASEAN region is actually much more receptive of blockchain as compared to Singapore right now. So in a sense, like although Singapore is very, very stagnant, on a national level or a regional level, we are actually quite, I would say, regressing, where Thailand is super big in terms of the Web3 space. Vietnam is one of the major developer hubs, and many of the GameFi projects are coming out from there as well. I think Philippines, even through COVID itself, you can see that there's a huge population of GameFi players there. So the adoption and the knowledge about Web3 or blockchain is already there. It's well received. So I do think that, as a region, you really need to rally together. The regulations, as what our panelists has shared as well, regulations, we have to do it together, and to make sure that as a region, we can safeguard this region together to really just move into the future together.
Yes, that's correct. That's wonderful. Nicole, he mentioned Vietnam and Vietnam's stance in this, right? And how Vietnam has been doing and going about cryptocurrencies, regulations, or even plain and simple cryptocurrency trading, etc., right? So considering your experience in the Southeast Asian regions, right, which SEA nations do you see as most crypto-friendly? And what are the barriers? Why are others not?
So within my community, actually we have members and projects coming from across Southeast Asia. So I think I can also share the perspective, not just with Vietnam, but with other countries. I think, of course, I do agree with other panelists. And I think it's going to be quite a bit of time until we can seek some sort of consensus in terms of regulatory framework. Because number one, we didn't start, the same in terms of country background, in terms of resources. Number two is that, of course, the understanding and expertise of the regulators are very different. And number three, I think, which is the most important, is that the incentives and the motives of regulators in different countries are very much different as well when it comes to crypto. So I think with Southeast Asia, at the moment, from my own observation, I can see that basically the main motive to drive people, maybe just to seek more sufficiency or let's say efficiency in terms of regulations, it's about the incentives, which is very much in line with, I think, with blockchain and Web3. So for now, we can see a lot of opportunities, like arbitrage opportunities for startups in terms of policies, as well as talent gap in Southeast Asia. So for example, if you, let's say, take one Web3 company in Vietnam, for instance, I would say around 90% of them are incorporated not within Vietnam. Let's say half of them must have a holding company in Singapore, and 40% would have like an offshore entity to handle all of the crypto business. So pretty much they would have three entities. So maybe one holding company in a territory like Singapore or Hong Kong, an offshore entity, and a development company in Vietnam or Philippines or Indonesia, where we have much more affordable talents. So this is, just a very, very, I think, like a very good example of how the startups, they have been branching out And this is not just in terms of regulations. They have seen the opportunity, where there's a gap. So why do I have to stick with a certain jurisdiction when I can actually represent in different countries, tapping into different markets in Southeast Asia? We have Indonesia, Vietnam with, over 1 million users. Of course, we have Malaysia, we have Singapore, we have Hong Kong, where there's definitely a much more fintech, let's say, friendly environment. And of course, we have other markets where we can actually, tap in, let's say, or use definitely much more affordable resources. So this is where I think a lot of the underlying motives for the ecosystem in the region. And this is why we also need more collaboration as well, because with Web3, we are not just talking about a single country. It's definitely more about the region and as well as cross-region as well. Like for now with ASEAN and Europe, as well as the US, and also within Asia, we have South Asia as well and ASEAN. So there's a lot of things going on. And I think incentives is the only thing that would drive people to do much more and to close the gap and go where the opportunity is.
Yeah, it actually makes sense. And this reminds me the problem of, one company needing to create 3 different accounts and offshore, corporations just to manage a certain part of business, right? In fact, this reminds me from personal experience, the previous startup that I was running, one office based out of Mumbai in India, one, because of decentralized finance, one based out of an island called Saint Vincent and Grenadines. I'm not sure how many of you know that because I didn't hear about it before we did so, right? It just felt like Cayman, right? So not a good thing. So, why do we even need to do this if such relationships can exist internationally, right? Or even if not, even domestically, if that can happen. I think people don't need to go outside, right? All exchanges setting up offshore accounts just because they cannot do the same business in their country, right? They have to go to Dubai, they have to go to, maybe some Southeast Asian countries. That's a lot of, overheads to do so, right? So thank you, Nicole, for that. Jeremy, moving on to you. So based on your experience, how do you think the adoption by a certain country or any country, of cryptocurrencies can impact their financial sovereignty and competitiveness in the global economy? Maybe this comes from, like El Salvador legalized Bitcoin as a legal tender, right? So how do you think that it drives the financial sovereignty of a country once they do so?
Yeah, so I think that also ties back into the launch of CBDCs. First of all, to answer this question, I think it really comes down to a few factors, right? Like, for example, like how literate the cryptocurrency adoption rate is within that country, and how active the government is also like pushing forward the blockchain technology, like regulation, legislative stuff within a country, etc. Maybe let me just speak from the perspective of CBDC right now, given that Hong Kong right now is also like pushing for Hong Kong dollars, and then I also understand like the Bank of Thailand is also pushing the CBDC. In fact, a lot of central banks have been pushing forward CBDCs right now. So if we go back and look at the cryptocurrency market right now, a lot of the stable coins are very much US dollar based, right? Yeah. You have like USDT, you have USDC, and PayPal just announced the US dollar stable coin as well. In fact, right now the whole crypto market is mostly denominated in US dollar-based currencies. When we discuss about Bitcoin price, we always quote in terms of, oh, right now it's like 26K. We always quote in price of a US dollar denomination, right? So in fact, I think if we look at the world in the future, it's getting more and more multipolar, meaning that there are more and more rising economies. The world is like kind of like towards the end of, right now it's still pretty much like, I guess, like American hegemony, right? The world right now still very much dominated by the US. But in the future, let's say if there's a trend of getting more and more multipolar, then I feel like right now it's very much the financial sovereignty, having each country kind of, using blockchain technology and leveraging this technology to also launch their stablecoin is kind of a very good step for kind of bridging their real economy with the digital asset economy. Because at the end of the day, what this technology is bringing forth to the world is like, first of all, financial inclusion. We've seen a lot of markets. There are a huge population of underbanked and unbanked population. For example, in Southeast Asia, we are talking about like 450 million population that's underbanked, right? So with the launch of CBDC and also the adoption of digital asset wallets, then in fact, this population of people, you are promoting financial inclusion, meaning that these people who can't even open a bank account traditionally, right now, at some sense, they can at least get access to some basic financial instruments or whatnot through blockchain technology. So I think that's a really good step. So that's more on the domestic level, like how you kind of increase the adoption rate of digital wallet, and then so that they can use either like stable coins or whatever means to do payments, so that facilitate payments, and then they might be able to maybe do a little bit of DeFi so that they can earn some yields on their stable coins as such. Whereas like right now, a lot of this population can't even access this kind of like basic financial instruments, right? So I think that's pretty critical on the domestic level. And then on the international level, I think like it's also like, well, we are talking a lot of like countries that are doing a lot of like bilateral settlement of trades and whatnot. This can be done by like stable, like CBDCs or even crypto, right? Because at the end of the day, right now, we are still very much, well, the settlement network was pretty old on the financial world. So with blockchain technology, it's like instant instant settlement on the blockchain technology, and also it just substantially reduced costs, right? As compared to the SWIFT kind of system right now, it takes like multiple like banking days, and not to mention it's still very much influenced politically. For example, because right now like SWIFT is pretty much still dominated by the states, right? Controlled. So I think like that is also quite important. How like each country is kind of like regulating the space and also push forward the blockchain technology regulation to move forward. But in terms of, maybe in the interest of time, let me also hand it over back to the moderator. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that really makes sense, and especially talking about bilateral relations with CBDCs. I think it's not just between countries, but largely between even groups. So maybe BRICS trying to do something amongst themselves, or with other such unions. And I think that the CBDCs can play an important role. But yeah, we're still far away to see that happen. Let's hope for the best. Edward, I have a question for you. Before I move on to you with a question, I did notice that from your team, we have a very young, cute audience, yeah, in the audience. And if she is now interested in analyzing financial tech, and for international relations, I can't imagine what that's going to happen in future, right? In 10 years from now, what she's going to do. Wonderful. Let's see what happens. So the question to you. What are the key challenges and opportunities for countries in regulating and harnessing such cryptocurrencies? This is on top of what maybe Rabia spoke about, right? That what lies behind harnessing such cryptocurrency regulations, right?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. Thank you. And to start with, I think that the relationship between cryptocurrencies, governments, and people is a relationship about safety. People want to feel safe when they are using cryptocurrency. And most likely, they went into the cryptocurrency to earn some money, maybe to go into some innovative technology, but also some people, a lot of them actually went to the cryptocurrency market to feel safer, to feel censorship-free, to feel the full control of their money. And I think, personally, that's very important, especially for underbanked regions and for other regions that have some financial difficulties. So what government can do to help this person? As for me, the first challenge for the government is to ensure that people will not lose their money if something goes wrong with some crypto company. Because a lot of crypto companies, they are too global, too decentralized for a single government to control it. Therefore, when a person invests their money in this crypto company, in some special token, it doesn't matter what, and then loses this money, there is no one to help him. There is no one to, like, from the government side to say, hey, it's all right, we're going to help you, we're going to ensure that your money is not lost, we're going to investigate in this problem. And that's the challenge, as for me, number one. But one of the most important. And the other one is also in terms of safety, the challenge is about hacking. Because a lot of people, as I said, they went into the crypto market to gain money. And when some industry is growing so rapidly well, so extraordinary, a lot of people go into this industry to raise money, and also a lot of hackers go to this industry for their money, to strive for their money. And they are trying to steal their money, and therefore there is like very high level, really relatively high level, especially if compared to the traditional banking systems, of money laundering, or money hacking. And that's the challenge number two, because governments, as far as I know, all the systems that help to track these crypto transactions, that help identifying people, they're like in the early stage. They help sometimes, but most of the time they fail to do so. Because if some person wants to launder like $200 million, the person can do it actually, and there is no single government to avoid it, to fight with it. Like some countries try to do so, and that's the challenge number two, and actually that's the challenge that can unite governments, because when several countries work together on this international basis, they actually can reach this target, can reach the target of identifying transactions, of identifying like money laundering. I think these are both challenges and opportunities for the countries to do so. That's like 2 points.
It does, yeah, it does make sense. So going back to Rapia, how will the emergence of central banking digital currencies, CBDCs, impact geopolitics? Maybe I should have asked this question right after Jeremy answered, right? So this is maybe a build-up on top of that. Would like to love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, so Jeremy touched on it, but I think it goes a bit deeper actually. I think that there will be a massive impact on geopolitics. And I think it's not just future tense, it's present tense, in the sense that we are already seeing that impact emerging. So if you look at the BRICS nations, which came up earlier as well, not only are they quite far advanced compared to other countries in relation to their own individual CBDC programs, but specific nations within the BRICS group are coming together to launch joint CBDCs. And if you study the patterns there, you can see that the countries that are aligning to launch joint CBDCs are aligning across political lines. So you can already see how it is quite possible that CBDCs, particularly joint CBDCs, may be used as a vehicle or a tool to shift global power to different regions on the planet. So I think they will have a massive impact. And the only other point I would touch on, because I think Jeremy did a great job, but the other point to think about here is the trends, not just in terms of politics, but also culture. So we can see a divide between certain countries in relation to CBDCs, and CBDCs will really bring this out. We can see a divide in terms of the approach towards decentralization, but also the approach towards autonomy and how much state intervention citizens of certain countries will accept and how much other countries' citizens will not accept. And so where CBDCs is really they're really going to deepen this divide is because CBDCs have a characteristic of programmability. So what we mean by this is CBDCs can be programmed so that they can only be spent by the owner of those CBDCs if certain triggers are hit. They might not be able to spend their money on certain causes. And there are certain citizens, certain countries where citizens are not going to accept those certain sorts of limits. And so this will all deepen the divide between the countries where the programmability of CBDCs will be accepted and countries where it won't be accepted. So it's going to be a really, really interesting one to watch.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And also, I would like to add about CBDCs that government actually can apply like negative interest rates on your money. So actually, it's like you are prohibited to save money, to save more money than the government allowed you to. So this safety comes at very high costs of being like being an investment person at least.
No, I just want to add as well, because we're painting quite a bleak, scary picture. The answer to this, and I know I would say this as a lawyer, but the answer to this is to have very good regulation and supervision, independent, effective supervision placed upon those individuals who have the privilege of introducing programmability into CBDCs. The question is, who regulates the programmers? Because that will literally define the level of freedom that people in a country will have. So you can't put enough emphasis on how important this issue is for geopolitics.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, thank you so much for the discussion.
Sorry,
guys.
just to add on one
Yes,
last
sir.
little point. So I totally agree with you guys as well when you're talking about like how you handle the topics of like cross-border politics or geopolitics in terms of like regulations, culture, and whichever, right? And I do see that it's actually a double-edged sword where on one side you need the regions or like the different nations around the world to work together to come up with like sustainable and also ever-changing kind of regulations to ensure that your AMLs and your communities are not being like rugged or scammed or whichever, right? But on the other side, you also need to basically be a bit more of a sponge to be receptive of the changes around your nation to see whether is it something that you could potentially adopt for your country itself, and then together as like a whole, for example, the ASEAN nation itself to grow together and like what some of our panelists mentioned as well in terms of the what was that to trace, who's the one that has hacked your account or did something detrimental to a certain institution, for example. If it can be, cross-border checked across the different regulations, I think that would be good. And one last point to also bring up, and this is something that I feel that as a nation or as a region, especially with multiple countries that are facing the unbanked kind of issues, right? Which it kind of has, for my opinion, it kind of has a bit of the relevance where the countries with the higher number of unbanked individuals, their adoption rate for blockchain or Web3 or even cryptocurrencies might actually be higher. Because of like, you need to go to the branch, you need to queue, and then you need to wait for, with the sheer number of people applying for bank accounts, that, your information is all, being stuck to and belonging to the banks itself. You go through a very long period of 3 hours at a bank, waiting for your bank account to be open, and then you're waiting for another 3 to 5 working days for the KYC to be done. And there are people who are like, living in Vietnam or Philippines or Thailand, for example. When you're out in the province, you do have a smartphone and you do have internet connection. You don't need to travel days to a city to basically open up a bank or even get like a debit card. So I think there's a lot of opportunities and potential in these topics and agenda that cross-government regulators should actually talk about together.
I agree. In fact, your discussion about countries where more people are unbanked is where I think we can see a lot of crypto adoption, right? So in fact, in my own use case, and people who attended my talk earlier, you must have seen the farmer use case, right? Where the farmer is able to go for financial inclusion, is included financially with the help of decentralized finance and not with the help of banks and fiat currency, right? So that's exactly what can happen and what we've seen happen. And people are really better off with it, right? Nicole, I have one question for you, keeping check on time. And guys, if you see me looking under the T, all I see from here is fintech, right? So I need to just bend down a bit to see the time, which I don't think we have much, right? I think we have a couple of minutes more, barely. So a very quick answer on how have different landscapes between the East and the West shaped up to support crypto use cases? Maybe your 30 seconds on that.
Okay, 30 seconds. I think with crypto at the moment, as I mentioned, so at the moment we are having too much infrastructure, but not enough use cases, and with real adoption. So I think pretty much for now, crypto has kind of helped us to, I think, bridge different countries. So literally like saying, like, let's say a Vietnamese company can of course like think about how to set up business in the UK, for instance, and work on different fintech products out there. So I think that there's a lot of areas where we can tap in different markets with crypto. I think, and definitely as I mentioned, so to tap in this kind of arbitrage opportunities. Number two, I think is that we need to use the incentives, with blockchain and crypto in a wisely manner. I think like for now, there's a lot of taboo about, definitely there's a lot of rug pulls and scams where tokens and the tokenomics of projects have been misused to, of course, like to lure in the investors, not like the adopters of the product. So I think pretty much moving forward, what we need to do is, of course, to devise this tokenomics in a smarter way so that it can help to incentivize people to use the product, not to speculate in the product. I think this is definitely very difficult with a lot of the projects who are just going to be in here for the short-term benefits. But I think moving forward, if we're talking about East and West, bridging different economies, then the use cases which can build on this kind of approach would be able to last. And again, in my opinion, Asia is definitely has become a more international right now. So it's not East and West anymore. I think it's about bridging different markets where the opportunities are.
With that, and we are out of time, but maybe I'll take the liberty of asking any questions if you have. Maybe we could give 30 seconds to that. Can we do that? Yeah, 30 seconds maybe. Just like Nicole answered her very quickly. Any questions in 30, 40 seconds? Anyone? Otherwise, please feel free to reach out to all of us. We'll be around. FBS and others have stalls here as well, booths there. So please do reach out to us. And I hope you really had a good learning here over the last 40 minutes. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, all of the panelists and our moderator. May I have a photo session, please? Yes. In the middle, please.